your mind lost
For musicians, for producers specifically. So he had different stations set up, all these different stations, and at each station you had a different producer, making beats, making music, and that was the whole concept. So at the studio, what I did was I had we used to have these events where we'll have producers, artists, all in the city come out, and then I'll pair them up randomly and give them like an hour to create a brand new song from scratch. And then from doing those, I was like, everybody loves collabing and finding other people to collaborate with, and find new people. So I was
So that's
when
good.
COVID hit. Yeah,
So that's
go ahead,
kind
go
of
ahead.
like what you did with Bass Parlor was you created a collaborative studio. The whole idea, like you were saying, was to bring everybody together to this place to create something.
Exactly.
Interesting. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Now doing it from like the physical form to doing it on the app, doing it online. So that's the whole thought process behind it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's been what, 3 years since you've been doing it this way? I mean, that's a massive transition, my dude.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate. We got a long way to go too, but we're making some good headway.
Ooh,
I'm really excited for 2023, 2024 because we're going to go to a whole other level with it.
weirdy. I we talk about like a lot. Everybody talks about it because I mean, it's been pretty. It's been only 3 years. I mean, it's been the pandemic, but I mean, for you, it literally changed everything that you did.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
It was tough. I mean, everybody talks about having to pivot business wise, but like everything was centered around the studio. But from doing that, I'll see that as like the first phase of a overall path, basically, overall,
Okay.
where it's just like the first phase with the studio. It was great. I got to see, I got to keep focused. Okay, people love musicians because I used to produce back in the day myself, and that's how idea came from. Is as a producer, I would make beats, but I'll be trapped into like a room by myself a lot of times making beats. And like I wanted to find more. In the time I was living in Orlando, and Orlando's not that big of a music city. And so I wanted to find people to work with. I wanted to find people to produce with, find people to record with. So I was like, what can I build that gives other producers the same thing?
Well, that's
But
the well. Here's the thing, though. That was kind of the beauty about like Nashville, and
hmm
that's why people, especially like even in the '80s, they were going out there to do R&B and blues and soul,
right,
because you could just walk in there and it's like, hey man, got bass? Yeah, you got cello? All right, let's go.
right,
Want to make something? Let's do it. And just that attitude and environment, and just like everybody just wanted to be a part of something creative and collaborative and wanted to support each other because
right.
we made it together, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's where the best music comes from. Look, from what I've
Oh,
seen, the
yes.
best music comes from. You don't have a game plan. You just go in the studio. You might be a whole different genre, it might be a whole different field than other artists, but y'all just create something on the fly. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. I have a YouTube series called the Bass Parlour Mashup, where we just take two musicians, never met each other, never worked with each other before. We just go in
Wow.
the studio and just give an hour to create a brand new song. And there's been some like bangers made in 60 minutes from this coming together, being like, okay, because you don't have time to think. You don't have time to think about it. You're
Right.
just reacting. You're
You
just
just
going in
go.
and
You're like,
you
just
just
do
go.
it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And some of the best songs I've heard have been come from that. Come from
60
that
minutes? That's all you're given is 60 minutes to make a song from start to
mhm,
finish?
60-minute
Wow.
song, start to finish. Yeah, check it out. It's on YouTube called the Bass Parlour Mashup.
Yeah, I'm gonna feature you. I'm gonna feature your channel on mine, of course, so
Okay.
like my audience can find your stuff. I love that. That's like, see, that's not just a challenge.
hmm
That's like a think tank. It's
Yeah.
like, as an artist, you want to be successful, but if I put you in this situation, what can you give me, like with your creative process, with your mind? If I
hmm
put you in this situation,
You're right. Yep. Yep. And
yeah,
I make sure the artists have never worked with each other before. Because if you work with somebody before, you kind of know their feel, you know their vibe, all that kind of stuff.
right.
But
You know
and
how
they
they
always
progress
have.
their chords and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They always ask, "Who am I paired with?" I'm like, "No, you'll find out. You'll find out on D-Day. You'll
Shh.
find out." And so they come in ready to work, and they're just always excited. And so I always pair different kinds of musicians too. So like one episode I had like a guitar player and a poet. Another episode I
Ooh.
might have like I had a Afro beats producer and a hip hop artist. I had like
That sounds kind of fun.
an
I can
R
hear
and B
like a good
singer.
like funky that
Yeah.
like I can hear like funky like maybe ooh like R&B house right then
Hmm.
and there. But you
Yeah.
know, it's interesting when you're making these like groups,
Hmm.
you have a poet and you have an instrumentalist. These are people that have complete opposite understandings of what each other does.
Right.
Like if you gave the opposite person the same instrument to do their task, it'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what would I do
Yeah. They don't know where to
here?
start. They wouldn't know where to start.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of it too, because it's just like, and they're not used to working with that kind of artist either. They're not used to working with that kind of person. They're just like they're just winging it. You know what I mean? But when you wing it, like anything else, you go back to your almost like when you first started. You don't even know what you're doing. You just going by just the seat of your pants. You don't know what you don't have a formula because you haven't never done it like this before. And like some of the tightest stuff comes from it, man. For sure.
Do you feel like in many ways it helps to create that experience? Because, like, you have a career because you've spent your time
Mhm.
making your career, right? Like, you
Right.
have 15 years experience because you spent 15 years. But, I think many times, like, even in that 15 years, there's things that you might not run into.
Hmm.
There's situations you might avoid or things you might not want to come across, you
Yeah.
know? Think
Yeah.
about like a punk rocker on drums. I want to throw an example. Like take a punk rocker on drums, and take a bluesy bass player.
Mhm.
Come on.
That's a tight mix right
There
there.
you
I might
go.
take that one.
Yeah.
I might take that one. So that's tight right there. Yeah, but always one thing I don't want them to do. So this is one reason I don't like live stream it. I don't, all
Okay.
this kind of stuff. I don't want them to be conscious or self aware. So I got the camera set up. I'll fall into the background. I'm like, whatever you come up with in 60 minutes. It can be a whole song, or if it's just an intro, it's no pressure. Whatever you got, that's what you got. And don't even worry about making a great song. Just create. I'll be here in the background. Don't remind me. Y'all get comfortable, and y'all just do what you do. And because I don't want when you start being self-aware, it's like when you were kids, you're out there playing, but when you start being self-aware, that's when you start being like in middle school. You like, I gotta wear the best this, best that, but it's like being a musician. You in there, you just vibing, you're in the moment, and I don't want to distract that. I don't want to take away from them just being in the moment.
No, and I think that's so important. I I had a guest on the podcast. He's out in Hamburg, Germany.
Hmm.
He's a filmmaker and an actor, and he's also a podcaster. But the interesting thing, like, take a place like Germany, out of all places. Hamburg was the place where the Beatles became the Beatles, and the reason is because they spent 8 hours tirelessly for weeks just performing and practicing because they were in their element. They were in
Right.
their environment. They were in
Yeah.
their zone to be able to. I feel it's such an important part of a progression of an artist, right?
Hmm.
Is getting in that zone, not having that pressure on you of like you gotta
Yeah.
succeed, you gotta. I don't know if that's good for
Yeah.
already traumatic brain.
Yeah. No. I feel like it's like that in almost like every facet, or every like vertical. Like I have a background in sports,
Ooh,
and
okay.
same kind of thing. Like in sports, like I played college baseball. I played baseball my life, up through college, and it's just like when you're learning, when you're practicing. I couldn't imagine having game time situation where you just in the backyard practicing, learning how to hit, learning how to throw. You just want to try to learn how to do it. But if you have that pressure on you, really never, you'll be so discouraged you wouldn't do it because you don't want that fear of failure. You have to have that time where it's just a safe spot where you can just like, okay, I'm just practicing my craft. I'm just getting better without the fear of judgment, all that kind of stuff. It's
I
like
think.
the same in every facet of life almost.
Oh yeah. I mean, even the lives that we live right now. I mean, the vast availability and just the incredible share of knowledge that we have now as artists. I
Mhm.
mean, the underground scene today is more seen than they've ever had been seen
Right.
because of the internet. It's just And it's only been what, 20, 25, 26 years?
Yeah, if that. Yeah, right around there. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, you're right. It has its positives. It has its negatives. You know, I mean, I love so like everything I do is for independent musicians. So I love the fact that as an independent musician, you can go out there. You don't have to go through a record label. You can really go direct to consumer. I love that. I love that. But at the same time, because of that, you don't have the quality control that you used to have.
No.
And yeah, so well, as a consumer, I love it because I want to hear what I want. I want to hear everything, and then I can be the quality control for what I want. I mean, I don't need anybody to filter it out for me. But at the same time, you have a lot more garbage. But I want to hear it all, though. I want to hear it all. I want to hear some. I want to hear some garbage. I want to hear some treasures. I want to hear a little bit of everything.
Well, you always have to search for what you're looking for.
Hmm.
I think what makes somebody such as yourself, being because you have to have a strong mind to do the type of work that you're doing. You have to be able to understand artists, and more than that, be able to understand the place, right? Things
Right,
are changing. To be the person that says, "Well, I want to stay old fashioned." Good for you, honey, but it's 2023, and there's a lot of things that we can use that can make things not only easier, but more accessible. So,
right,
more possibilities. All about how you want to look at it. It's all about your perspective, but I like to look at the future and see what we can do.
right. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, you got a lot of stuff coming up on the horizon too. Like I'm interested to see how AI affects the music industry. That's going to be fascinating. I want to see how VR affects the music industry. So it's a lot of things on the horizon. It's a very exciting time to live, period, but especially in the music industry. I'm really fascinated to see where everything goes. Again, trying to be on the cutting edge of that.
People are terrified of AI, but I think, especially for DJs, it's going
Mm,
to be next level. I mean, the way that they'll, I another shout out. I had an incredible DJ on this podcast called Trippy Dubs. He's out here in South Florida.
okay,
Imagine him doing his music and having artificial intelligence able to create a visual simulator all across the floor and the walls.
right.
Bro,
Sync with the beat, like actually sync with the beat. Oh, dang.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that'd be tight. That'd be super tight. And I was talking to someone a couple of days ago, and just thinking about where it can go with AI. When I was thinking about, you have a really big opportunity for songwriters, I think, because with AI, it can mimic different voices, and I mean, you can feed it different, albums from the past, albums from the present, and it can mimic whatever voice you want to mimic. But you get as a songwriter, I can write a song for any artist of any era, and I can pretty much, as long as I have their
Wasn't there a song? It wasn't from Kanye West. It was from Drake. I think
yeah,
there
the
was
Drake and the Weeknd.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
yeah, and it
and it
sounded
went like,
pretty close to him too.
it went super viral.
It
Like
went
it,
viral. Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy. It
yeah.
wasn't real.
And that's just the front. That's just the cut. That's just the front line. I mean, in 2 years, I mean, it's going to be even more realistic to sound how they sound. Like as an artist, I can be like, I would license my voice out if I was an artist, and that songwriters write for it. I get a cut of the song. I have my own releases. I license my voice out. Songwriters can write their own releases. As long as they know that this is my releases. Those are AI releases, but I get a cut of that. I mean, I have a whole other revenue stream coming on.
It's all about how we go about it. It's you can look at it as all doom and gloom, but guess what? People thought computers were all doom and gloom.
Yep. Yep. I mean, every technology jump. People thought internet was doom and gloom. People thought, I mean, and there's bad sides to everything. Every single jump in
Everything.
technology. But yeah, yeah,
I
it's,
mean,
it's, it's interesting.
how has it? I mean, did you just fall into the music industry? I mean, because you mentioned you were in sports. What?
Yeah. So
Hmm,
when I play actually you're in South Florida. I played
ooh,
baseball at University of Central Florida.
okay,
Yeah, yeah. And
noise.
so I played there for 3 years. I transferred to Georgia Southern and played there for 1 year, my senior year in sports. So when I finished,
All about the artist. That is the whole purpose of this podcast, period. And you have a really valuable tool. You can share this with artists, people that are creative, someone that can enjoy this podcast and really enjoy the experience of Lost in the Groove. So, with that, let's jump back to today's episode, shall we?
college, I finished college at Georgia State. When I finished college, I thought I was going to go, get drafted, go to the league. That was my plan. It didn't work out like that, but I missed that passion for something. But I was always a music person. You know what I mean? Like we grew up. I grew up in Atlanta. We used to, play ball, play basketball, and everything. I was the one making mixtapes. Making little mixtapes and everything like
Oh,
that with
you're
new
one of
artists.
those.
First time I heard Outkast, I was like, "Yo, who is this band? Like, who is this group?" Like, it's sometimes you remember certain groups that hit you so hard. First time I heard Tribes, and first time I heard Erykah Badu, first time I heard Outkast, first time I heard Curtis Mayfield. These
You want to hear? You want to hear a funny Erykah Badu story?
definitely.
Until recently, a few months ago, I have been listening to Erykah Badu songs on Spotify for years, and I had no idea that it was her. I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh, that's her name. And it was like, yeah. I was like, oh my god. I was just like,
Yeah, man. That first
legend.
album is a classic, an all-time classic. That Baduism,
Oh my
classic.
god. It's the you know what it's the best thing to listen to. You wake up early in the morning, make a cup of coffee, make yourself some eggs.
Okay,
You
okay.
sit there. I don't know, like you just the way to like describing these artists. These are like people that get you into these modes. Gets you into a vibe and that environment. That's something really special that a lot of artists can't really do real
Yeah,
well.
yeah. It's always gonna be. It is what it is. Some people got that certain je ne sais quoi, some don't. It is what it is. But yeah, Badu. First of all, Curtis Mayfield, same impact. Curtis
Really?
Mayfield's live soundtrack, like this is way back 70s soul. I'm a 70s, so I love 70s soul, 90s hip hop, 90s alternative. Those are my three go-to genres. I love everything. Those are three true to my heart.
You just spinning that out just reminds me of Hot Chocolate. You ever heard of Hot Chocolate?
Nah.
Okay, they were a groovy band. They had a song called Emma.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
Definitely gonna check it
it's
out.
good. Ooh,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
dark, but it's good.
I like dark. I'm all about dark. So, once I finished playing ball, I had to have something to replace it. So I decided, okay, let me really jump into the music thing and start producing. And so I went down to Full Sail. I don't know if you heard of Full Sail in Orlando. Went to
Yes,
went there,
they
studied
offered me
recording.
a scholarship, but it's a
Oh
long
yeah,
story. Yeah.
okay, yeah. No, that's tight though. That's tight. I definitely want to hear it. But no, go ahead, go ahead. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
They offered me a scholarship. The problem at the time was I didn't finish my high school diploma,
Mhm.
and they also wanted $40,000.
Yeah, it's expensive for
It
sure.
was very expensive, and
Yeah,
like I went a different route as an artist. I still draw. I do digital art. I do
okay,
audio editing, video editing. I do a mixture of different things. I'm a podcaster.
right.
Life has a funny way of changing your path.
Hmm.
So I like how you're talking about your story because it's just one thing is like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go the other way, and it's just like,
Right.
okay, this is where we're going now.
Yeah. You got to be all in. Yeah. So yeah, the same thing like you're saying. So I just went all into the music. I went to Full Sail, did recording arts there. I remember when I got out, they just started this video game program, but they needed an
Whoa.
audio person for the video game program. So I was like, I'll be the audio person. So I graduated. I did that free internship for like 6 months. Created the music for all these student video games. Created the sound effects. I was doing pirate games, doing pirate voices,
Oh my
music, all
god.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I was going in hard. So I had an internship with Full Sail doing like being an audio guy for there. I had an internship with Disney doing, working in the studio in Disney. And then I got an interview at EA Sports. So right down there in Orlando. So I was like, interview for the job, got the job at EA Sports. came on there as one of the members of the sound team, doing like sound effect design, dialogue stuff, music for the like music clips for the Madden, the NCAA games.
That's our shit.
Yeah, yeah. So I
That's
did
long
that.
hours. That's real long hours.
Yeah, it's long, but it's chill though. Like that's one thing I love about the video game industry. It's at least at EA Sports, it was long hours, but like I used to go to work in flip flops and shorts. Part of it's a Florida thing too, Yeah, it's a big Florida thing too. But yeah,
Yeah, for
it was
sure.
real chill, it was real cool. So I did that for about 3 years, 3 4 years, and then moved back to Atlanta. Started a business that ended up started like a apparel business that
Okay.
that ended up flopping, but I learned a lot about running a business through doing that.
Same.
So yeah,
I had
yeah.
the same
So
experience.
oh really?
Yes.
That first business that flops is the key because now you know what you're getting into. Yeah, now you know. So
Oh my
it was
god,
one
it's
of the best things ever.
so true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. But I ended up going to moving to DC and going to grad school at Howard. So I went to grad school at Howard, got my MBA. But when I was there, that's when I started seeing these WeWorks pop up. And I was like, man, this WeWork, I mean, it was popping up all over the place. And I was like, that's a cool concept because that was the first time ever really seeing all those, what they call shared workspaces, co-working spaces.
They're really popular in Europe. I lived in Israel for a few years.
Uh,
Oh my god, they're like huge.
yeah, I bet.
Everybody knows about WeWork.
Yeah, and I remember the CEO or the co-founder, I think he was from Israel, right? I believe he was from
Mhm.
Israel.
I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah, he was from Tel
Oh,
Aviv.
yeah. So I was like, that's a great concept, but I want to do the same thing for producers and for musicians. So when I
Oh,
started,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, that same thing. 'Cause I remember when I was producing when I was in Atlanta. I was producing, but it was just like I said, it got kind of bored. I did mostly in Orlando. Atlanta's a huge music scene, but mostly when I was in Orlando, it's not that big of a music scene. So when I was doing a lot of beats and everything like that, I wanted to collab with people. And the opportunity wasn't there as much as I wanted. So when I moved to DC, and I was like, that's a great idea, but I could make something like that for producers. So so I started throwing events in DC for just for artists, producers to come out and play the stuff they're working on. But what I really wanted to do was get their feedback on this idea I had because I wanted to get their feedback before I started the business. Because I had a full-time job and I wanted to like at least get some test the market before I just left that to start the business. So started throwing those events in DC. They went really well. Started throwing a couple in Atlanta. They went well. Decided to move from DC to Atlanta to open the studio, open Bass Parlour Studios. And that's what set the whole journey off. So when I started up Bass Parlour Studios, that's when it was good. Like start a studio. It started off with just as like little stations for producers. Eventually producers are like, yo, the stations are cool, but I want to be able to record artists and stuff. So what I did is I turned one of the offices into like a little small recording studio. So people would come up, make beats with each other, then go in the back, record it, bring their artist friends, and go record a beat in the back. So it had a real like organic, like a real family type vibe. It was really cool. And so we were building, everything was going great. We were building, and COVID hit. And I was like, I didn't know how long COVID was going to last, but I was like, I have to shut the studio down because, this is, if it lasts long, I can't just keep paying rent. And then
Do you ever plan on bringing it back?
maybe eventually, but I'm so heavy into this app because the difference between the studio and the app is with the app, I can reach the world. With the app, I can reach artists around the world and I can have them connect with each other. I don't with the
Right.
studio, I'm limited to the city. So if I was to bring it back, I would bring it back as a supplement to the app, and not vice versa.
Right. It's the same thing with radio, which was the problem is AM was everybody knew AM was
Right, right,
FM was great, but it wasn't broadband. I mean, you can stretch it as far as it goes. And then the internet comes along and you can create internet radio shows.
mhm,
And then that turned into what we're doing now, which is
right,
podcasting.
right,
Um it's really cool that you're able to do that. Like now you're able to reach these different producers that are in their own studios in
mhm,
Belgium or in Canada or Mexico, wherever they are.
right.
and then be able to publish this. I noticed you also offer like competitions, in these contests where
Hmm.
people can post and publish their works.
Right.
They can be from all over the place.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And that's one big thing. Like this past competition, the August competition. So we have one every single month with musicians,
Okay.
and it's all based around collaboration. So the entire Bass Parlor, our entire thing is collaboration. So you have to collaborate with somebody. You create a song, you upload it, you can win the prize for that month if you get the most votes. So whoever gets the most votes wins. It's very democratic. So you can win. We have different sponsors, different software sponsors, hardware sponsors. It was cool last month because the winning team gets to perform this song at a conference. So that's a real cool thing. So yeah, we're trying to make a competition out of it, but it's really just about the collaboration, man. I'm really big on music collaboration. Just from what I've seen with all the great music that's come out of just these impromptu collaborations, man. That's what I love.
Yeah, it's the best way to create the greatest music. It
Yeah, for
really
sure.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the greatest vibes and the greatest chills. What I'm curious about is, for example, if you have people that are using SoundCloud
Mhm.
to publish their music, per se to your software that you're offering, what
Mhm.
would you say, for example, to people using SoundCloud for them using your platform?
They can use both. So, if you create a profile, then you can actually put on SoundCloud. We have a link, so people can hear it. Press
Okay.
that link and go directly to SoundCloud to hear your portfolio of music on SoundCloud. And with mine, you can just one thing that's different with what I'm doing from what SoundCloud is doing is in SoundCloud you can find people with mine, you can find people with mine. You can also chat. You can chat. You can find people around the world. You can chat. You can hear their music. Eventually what we're working on is be able to actually make music through the app. So that's where we're going with it, is be able to collaborate through the Bass Parlor app. And so
Wow.
yeah, so that's a big thing. So we're all about music collaboration. Ours is more like SoundCloud is big on independent musicians finding an art, finding a fan base, right? So as a fan, I can find different musicians and I can see who I like. So
You
they
know
know
what the
what.
problem though is, and it's the same problem with Spotify. They're very they're corporate,
Mhm.
and like as much as we want to support independent artists, corporate doesn't want to support. Let's be honest, okay?
Mhm.
Corporate does not want to support independent artists. Okay, they want to support whatever is the most profitable.
Right, exactly.
So, you coming into the game with something like this, where you're able to create this type of collaboration with artists, you're having a different approach with this. Very different than these other platforms that are okay, not necessarily doing exactly what you're doing something in the same category,
Right, right.
same genre, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. This is the same genre, but I'm taking a whole different angle at it. So
Okay.
most of theirs is I'm an artist and I'm trying to build my fan base, or I'm a fan. I'm trying to find new independent artists, which is great, and that's a needed lane. My lane is I'm a musician, I'm an artist, producer, whatever, and I'm trying to find other people to work with and create with. You know,
I
like
see. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
ours
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah, ours is musician to musician, not musician to fan. That's the difference. So we have like a just this is just a network of just musicians. So we have a chat. You can chat with musicians. You can talk to different musicians. You can find different musicians, different people to work with. You have different contests. You can upload your stuff to the contest. So ours is about musician to musician. Those are like if you're trying to build. So that's why I'm working like that's why we have a link to SoundCloud because they're serving a whole different. They have a whole different business model and game plan than we do. Even though we're both in the music, we're both serving independent artists. We're trying to do two different things.
I've definitely, especially with like this podcast, it's one thing that I've tried to do differently is this is a place for artists, creators of all kinds. I mean, do you fucking paint wood and put little dots on it and you make a cute little thing? You're an artist. I don't care.
Right.
You sit and you put presets together on GarageBand and spend 12 hours or spend your weekends with friends. You're a fucking artist. Like, You're creating something, you're taking your time and you're spending your time and you're making something that's enjoyable for yourself.
Mhm.
And it's just like, I wouldn't say it's a lost craft, but it's like one of those things we have to literally push ourselves now more than ever, because guess what? They took away our ability to socialize.
Right.
Okay? We remember that. They took that
Mhm.
away.
Right.
What happens when you stop people from socializing and isolate them?
A lot of things can happen, but one thing happens: depression. That's one big thing happens. Depression can happen. I mean, people are social animals, so we're going to find a way to socialize unless we're going to be depressed. And you can have a mental crack.
And being able to realize that the most important thing, especially as an artist, is you not just need a community, you need a place to communicate with.
Mm,
Like that ability to be able to chat, that ability to be able to find, that ability to be able to communicate. It's again also about having yourself that education. You want to learn from other people, right? You're
mm.
curious about what other people are doing. You're curious what's different things that you can try. God, I hope that part of us humans don't ever die.
I don't think it will. I don't think it can. I think that's like innately in us. I think that's something that we are. I want to say bred, but it's something that's innately in us from birth. Is we are this social animals. And I don't think there's anything that can change about that. But
Right.
we'll see though. I mean, because between social media, everything being done remotely and everything, we'll see how that works. But I think it's going to be integrated. Everything's going to be integrated to us socializing, even if it's not in person. We still have to have the interaction. Like I think that meaning comes through interaction. Purpose comes through interaction.
That is an interesting thought
Yeah.
because y- isn't that something that a lot of times we think about is what's our purpose?
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, and we spend so much time interacting with the world around us, the people we work with, the people we socialize with. Do we ever come to think maybe yes, we're not in control, but maybe we are.
Mm,
Maybe you're in more control than you think you are.
mm,
If you
yeah.
really get down to it.
Now I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. I think we are and we aren't. I think that we are in complete control of what we do. And I think we lose, as a whole, I think we lose focus on what we do have control on because we're focused on what we don't have control on.
Right.
And so the things that we have no control over. But we're so focused on that, I think we lose sight as a whole. We lose sight of here's what I do have control of, and indirectly it affects all this other stuff out here that I'm focused on. But if I focus on this, if I focus on what I do have, like this sphere of what I do have control on, then a lot of times I'm going to get what I can control that through controlling this. A lot of times, I think that we lose focus on that. But I really think that meaning. I thought about this for a long time. I really think that purpose is always in context of other people. Like if I'm on a desert island and what is your true purpose? If you're by yourself on a desert island, what is your true purpose? I mean, you're trying to get back to. Most people will be trying to get back to other people. They'll
Yeah.
try to get back to civilization. It wouldn't be paradise if if our purpose didn't come in context of other people. Then being by yourself on an island would be paradise, really. Or solitary confinement could be paradise.
You know, it's
You agree?
crazy though, because solitary confinement is considered a sentence.
Hmm.
And it's interesting, like, oh, okay, you're just going to be alone. But when you're alone long enough, you go crazy.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
What do you think, like, especially for, I don't know, I'm always curious about this,
Hmm.
the different types of artists that you interact with?
Hmm.
What would you say would be, I wouldn't say successful, but what do you think would be a key thing that you would take away that's something you can give over to people? Be like, these people are doing this. And this is a true sign of success. Do you see that or you don't? Because people talk about it and I'm like, I don't know. I feel
What
like
I
every
think,
single person's different.
yeah, what I think as a musician is a true sign of success.
Yeah.
I think true success. I think first of all, I think you're right. I think it's different for everybody. People get into music for different reasons, but I think generally success is you can do that. You can support yourself just doing what you love, just doing music. It doesn't have to be on on the level of like a Taylor Swift or Beyonce, anything like that, making billions of dollars. But if you make enough to pay your bills and you can do what you want to, it's a lot like being an entrepreneur. Like, what's a successful entrepreneur? You have to be a Google level. You have to be like Elon Musk to be a successful entrepreneur. Or if you have a small, mom and pop shop selling skateboards, but you can pay all your bills. You're designing what you love. You're doing what you love. To me, that's a success. If you can pay your bills doing exactly what you love, focus on what you do, and different people do different things. For me, it's not. It's being able to express myself creatively without being filtered by somebody else. That's what success is for me. Be able to pay my bills and be express myself through my art, which for me is my music, or for me is my business. For some people, it's their music. But be able to put out what you feel is truly you, and be able to pay your bills doing that. I
It's
think
also
that's success.
I think it's also like being able to give that, we talked about this earlier. It's also about giving that opportunity.
Mm,
It's kind of shocking and strange that we still live in a world where being an artist is not very well accepted. It we love to say that it's well accepted, because of all the things that we see, but realistically, if you go out into the real world, like the type of environments that I'm trying to figure out how to put this in, the type of environments that a lot of times artists are put in, like we
mm,
said earlier, can be very depressing and miserable.
right.
And when you work a 9 to 5 and that's all you do,
Mm,
it can be really hard to see yourself as being a success or being able to even get there. You know what I mean?
right. Right. That's true. That's true. And I think there's a struggle for a lot of people, who have a 9 to 5 job and are like, how can I get out of this constant loop to become successful? What do I want to do? I think that the biggest thing that's helped me is to break things down to smaller pieces. I think if you like, okay, let me get one. Here's what I want to accomplish for the week. Let me just get a little bit done each day. If you break because for me it's like if you have this big goal that you want to accomplish, it's so daunting and so overwhelming. You're like, how am I going to get there? But if you can break it down to smaller pieces, and like I'm concentrating on getting this little piece done this day, and having these small accomplishable goals or milestones rather to get to this bigger milestone by breaking it down to smaller milestones. But it can be overwhelming, like because it's like I understand if you get 9 to 5, let's say you have 9 to 5, you get off. By the time you get back home, get settled in, might be 6:30. How you gonna like? You got to go to bed like 10:30, 11 o'clock, so you can get back up. You know what I mean? Like it can be a constant thing, but you just gotta. I think it's something that so many people go through and break out of. It can be done. It's possible. So how can you do it? And then I think just breaking it down from there, making these small milestones. If you can dedicate 2 or 3 hours a day, I think that everybody can break out of it.
Yeah, it is. It truly is about mindset.
Hmm.
And I think you're right. It can be very daunting when you look at it's always great to look at a big picture, but
Right.
the same way you look at a bird's eye picture of Manhattan, you're like, holy shit, that is so much. But if you kind of zoom in, you're like, okay, there's the road,
Hmm.
there's the sidewalk. Okay, everything starts to be clear. I think it's really important to be able to have that perspective of
Yeah.
where there is that big picture. You don't need to focus on that. You just
Right.
gotta focus on right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I like the imagery of like looking at Manhattan or looking at New York and being like, how am I going to like if you The first thing I thought about was like if you're a cab driver and you got to learn the city of New York. You're like,
Oh,
how are you
they
just,
are.
yeah.
I don't know. It's a New York secret that I don't think they don't use GPS. Like that's the thing. You know about an OG New York, like cab driver. There's no phone with Waze.
Nah, no, they just know it. They just go through. They know the whole thing like the back of their hand. They.
Hey, it's Dave, and I quickly just wanted to jump in and say if you've been enjoying the podcast and enjoying this episode, if you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'll be so greatly appreciated. Because here's the thing, someone might read that review and make the choice if they want to listen to the podcast. You get to help grow this podcast with us. How fucking cool is that? Let's jump back to today's episode.
But I'm sure, but they started from a point. But it's encouraging to me to think they start from a point where they were new to the city and didn't know anything about it. So it can be done.
Yeah, of course. There's no way that they were born that they knew every single street of Manhattan.
Right, right. So like if they can do it, that's always encouraging to me. If I think someone else did it, so I can do it too. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of break. So I'm sure. I mean, they might have started with a different section or street, but however they broke it down, they figured out how to get it done. I see this. I see business, being a musician. I see all that the same way.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because when you look at artists, especially musicians,
Mhm.
there's an interesting key of a lot of times things get lost. But I talk about this. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're called Big Star.
Mhm.
They were a country kind of like proto indie.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go there.
Okay.
Band that they had technically two albums released. One was kind of black, under the black market kind of shit,
Okay.
but nobody ever heard of them.
Mhm.
Like they were just very unknown. But the interesting thing was like today, I just recently found this. Like there are people that are like what you probably would have never heard of 25 years ago, but all of a sudden they're the newest thing that everybody's talking about. And it's like, wow, would you ever think that you would live in a generation where somebody that would probably never have that pedestal,
Mhm.
never have that spotlight, is now?
Yeah.
It's just so weird. I don't know.
Yeah. The peak said now. That's wild. Now that's wild. That's something else. It's like one thing that I've been looking at a lot lately on YouTube for some reason. It's been fascinating is to like I told you, I love '90s hip hop. They have all these different channels now showing like a father and son, or like someone in their 20s, never exposed to like Outkast, never like heard and listening to or like any Nas,
Yeah.
Jay Z, any of the stuff that I love
MC
growing up.
Hammer,
Yeah, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, yeah.
Salt and Pepper. Yeah.
But yeah, so like listen to the first time and getting their reaction. It's almost like I'm reliving me hearing it for the first time through watching them hear it for the first time. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, oh my god, I think it wasn't Nas. What did I play for my mom? Oh my god. Oh, it was Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
So, my mom has never heard Wu-Tang Clan before, like
Uh,
ever.
right.
And I was like, "You've never?" She's like, "No." And I played it and she's like, "Oh my god, this is good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I
Right.
told you." It's just that experience of like that wow, oh my god, you feel that too because you're sharing in that moment, you're sharing in that experience, you're like, because you're sharing what you love with somebody else and they're sharing
Right.
that back with you. I don't know, it's just we're weird as humans.
Yeah. No, that's intimate. It's an intimate thing. We can share something.
Yeah,
What was the movie, music, whatever it is, like sharing for some art, specifically art, when you share with somebody else and you can expose into something that you love.
it's beautiful.
It's vulnerable. It's like it's a lot of things mixed into one. So yeah.
What do you when you listen to music, Do you like listening to like the lyrics, or do you like the beat in the back and like the
I'm
sound?
more of a lyric guy. I love the
Okay.
beats. I'm being a having a background production. I love the beat, but the lyrics is what makes it generational to me. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
beat changes. Like I can hear beats. Like for instance, I'm a big Tribe, a De La fan. De La Soul.
Okay.
The beats are outdated now, especially with De La Soul more than like Tribe. A lot of the beats are outdated, but the lyrics, I remember the way I felt when I heard it. The lyrics stick out to me. The beats are still tight to me. They are. But if you hear, the newer generation, if they heard it, be like, "What is this? What is this?" But for me, so I'm a lyric guy. So that's first and foremost. And I love lyrics that like dark. I love dark lyrics. I love lyrics that challenge you. I love lyrics that are vulnerable. That like one of my favorite albums actually is Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette. It's because it's so raw to how she feels. That's a crazy album because the lyrics are just so raw. Anything that's just raw and just pure
Wait,
vulnerability
it's
and
called Jagged. I gotta see this cover.
Jagged Little Pill. You ever heard that album? You
No.
gotta check that out. That's Alanis Morissette. I think it was like it probably sold like over 10 million albums. Like this is a 90s. This is like mid 90s. It's crazy. It is a
Ooh.
listen to the lyrics.
I gotta listen to this. Ooh. That
Yeah,
is a cool ass cover. It's so 90s.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
definitely.
90s, but I love that.
Uh-huh. There's
Ah.
another there's another artist named David Gray. I'm a big fan of. He's from he's from England. Best One of the best lyricists I've ever heard of all time. Like his lyrics. You ever heard somebody like the way they word something is something you've thought but you couldn't articulate. Like I've had like some things. I've heard some of his lyrics from like I've thought that same thing. I just couldn't articulate it like that.
Um, First person that comes to my mind is
Mhm.
Marvin Gaye.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's a
Okay.
generational artist right there. Yeah, Marvin Gaye something else.
Oh my god. You sit there. I have one of his albums. You just sit there and you're just like, because you can hear like the love of like, people around and just coming together, and you can hear his words.
Right.
That's the whole thing about Marvin Gaye, is you want to hear his voice. Oh my god. It's so true. Like there is a different way of looking at music when you just look at the lyrics.
Mhm.
Cause that like emotion that comes to it, whoa, it's powerful sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So for me, the combination of lyrics and live instrumentation, there's nothing that beats that. Like I mean, I know you heard Stevie Wonder, but it's a
Of course.
specific albums you have to hear from Stevie Wonder, like
Which ones?
songs in the key of life.
I don't
That's
think
that
I've heard that before.
man, oh man, you got man,
I always like, the problem is they always shuffle in like the same songs over, and
yeah,
I'm
you
like,
can't like the pop song, like his poppy stuff is is good, is great, but you got to go deep into the albums and hear a lot of the stuff that didn't make the radio. The
it's the
radio
same
cuts the
thing
radio,
with it's the same thing with Prince.
right?
Literally the same thing with Prince. It's just like, do not throw them on a playlist. Just go through the. I'm serious. You got to go through the album.
Yeah, exactly. Any super popular artists like that, you got to go through the album. Like for me, Curtis Mayfield does it too. Like listen to
Mm,
Spotify soundtrack. That's a great.
yeah.
The instrumentation is he has a lot of uplifting lyrics. Like I'm a lyric person. If I had to pick one, it all because to me like instruments are almost like lyrics to me. Like when they speak to you, like when someone play, like for me, horns and strings. If someone can like killing the cello in the background, or like is this to me is almost lyrical. Like you can feel the emotion of the instrument without the words.
Oh
You
yeah. I sometimes will love. I know this is so dumb. I used to work with somebody that loved jazz. I still love jazz, and I will just put it on,
yeah,
and it's just random instruments playing. But I don't know. It's weird because jazz like kind of tells you a story without words. That's why I explain it. It's just
yeah,
like You don't want the noise of lyrics sometimes, because like if you're busy doing editing and stuff, it's
Mm.
a little bit cumbersome.
Right.
But jazz gives you that added benefit where you don't need to have that. But it's so hard to explain that to somebody. They're like, "What the hell are you talking about, bro?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to
I feel you though.
experience it.
You experience it. How can you explain music? It's something that's so visceral. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how do you
Or like
explain
describing
music?
colors to someone who's blind. Like where do you even get started with that? Is this you have to feel it. That's what I love about music. It's so you don't have to think about it. It cuts through all the BS. It cuts through all of the like intellectual side of us. When you feel it, you just feel it, and it's not, you don't have to like reason with yourself that I like it. You don't have to convince yourself to like it. It's just immediate,
It's right then and there.
right then and there. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because it's like the universe is just like, this is what's happening.
Hmm.
And I was talking with somebody. I was talking with Carissa. She's the co-host of American Groove. It's like the universe is an interesting thing because we've talked about how much control that we have. Because in like the split of a second, you can make a decision that you would have never made before in your life, like going on stage for the first time.
Right.
The person before you has never gone on stage, but now I want to give an example. First time posting on Bass Parlour, right?
Hmm.
Never done that before. It's just those, I wouldn't say a hurdle. I would say those stepping stones, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. What's crazy about that too is it can change the course of your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you hear about like if you listen to like comedians, a lot of times they might have started going up there on a dare, or they might have gone up there because it's like, oh, I might be good at that. Who knows? But like, it's scary to think that a comedian, their whole life, the whole course of life changed. What if they just didn't do that? They would be doing something completely different. It's just how random life is, and how like being in that moment and just saying, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go for it." I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. Can change the entire course of your life, and it's scary. It's fascinating, but it's also scary.
In what way?
It's scary because it's like, what if you think about the times that you decided not to do something, and how random it is, like how the times I decided not to do something, what if I did it? The times I decided to do something, what if I didn't do it? Then my entire life would change just on a split second. Just on a split second, decide to do it or not to do it. And it's like it's not planned. It's not. It's a lot of times it is, but a lot of times in life, just split second decisions is everything.
I know.
Yeah. So to me that's scary. It's just the lack of it's just scary how random that can be.
I think I think it's all about chance.
Mm.
I the expectation of, wow, this is a tongue twister. The expectation of expecting something to come to you
Mm.
is unrealistic. The fact that I know this may sound harsh, but the fact that you think that your great bass player is going to make you successful, you think that you're great on piano is going to make you successful. I don't think that's what makes you could be the greatest piano player in the world, but everybody could hate you. Doesn't matter.
Mm.
What matters is that, what are you doing?
Mm.
Why are you playing this?
Right.
If you can't, this is how I feel because I play guitar. If I can't answer those questions, then why am I playing that instrument?
Yeah. That's yeah. I like that idea. I heard something this past weekend that really stuck with me. I was at a conference, and one of the panelists said, "Don't pursue success, pursue fulfillment."
Mm,
He said, when you're successful, the more success you have, the more you surround yourself with people who are successful. The more you surround yourself with people who are successful, the less successful you feel because you're surrounded by people who are successful. The less successful you feel, the more that you have to try to pursue more success in order to feel, capable and like you're with the rest of the group that you're with. But when you pursue fulfillment, that's a whole different thing. Like what feels good to you? Like what is it that you like? Kind of what you're saying. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it? Forget about success. Why are you doing it? How's it feel? So that really stuck with me. Don't pursue success. Pursue fulfillment.
Well, remember what you said earlier about like hearing a cello play and just feeling those emotions.
Mm,
You're feeling those because I think that whoever's playing that cello answered those questions.
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah, because if they didn't feel it, that wouldn't be able to put it on me. I agree. I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, like I definitely feel that there's a deeper layer to the onion. I don't think it's just about playing the chords and progressing.
Mm,
I think there's definitely a deeper underlying to it that I think every person takes their time and they grow to it. They figure it out as they go.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, I think about all the songs I like, and a lot of the songs I like, they don't. First of all, they don't fall on the beat. They're not quantized. They have that emotion to them. They have that swing. That it's not like some different genres of music have different things to go to. Like for instance, dance music has got to be quantized. That's part of the genre of dance music. But generally, the songs that last with me from decade to decade don't have they have that swing. You can feel like for instance, Eric Badu, what we just started talking about. One of the things I love about her is she had that live band in the background. It didn't have this basic, intro, verse, chorus, verse, break, chorus. Like it just swung. Or you didn't know where she was coming from, or outside of the lyrics by themselves, they stood by their own.
It was almost like the new jazz.
Yeah, neo soul, new
Oh
soul.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that some of the pioneers are people that don't even realize that they're pioneers.
Hmm.
You know, it's I said this before. When you're an artist, you learn from other artists.
Hmm.
You take from those and you create something from it. You know, there'll always be one Michael Jackson, but
Right.
there'll be a person that has a bit of Michael, a bit of Prince, a little bit of Richard Pryor. Poor crowd that's gonna have to deal with that. Get a little bit Eric Clapton in there,
Hmm. That's like
and you got yourself a great. I don't know. Let's say he's a singer songwriter slash blues bass player. Something like that. It's
right.
just I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know. But it comes back to that person feeling like making what they feel. I'm all about artists who make music they love, they can feel. So yeah.
So far, I mean, your experience in the music industry. I
Mm.
mean, have you felt that it has been a positive experience all across, or do you feel it's something else?
Now it feels positive. Like I'm a music person. I love music. So if I wasn't around music, involved in music somehow, I wouldn't feel complete. So for me, it's been very positive. Obviously, there's things that I'm in the music industry from the point of an entrepreneur and from a business owner, a startup founder. So I'm like a musician, so I don't have to deal with a lot of things that a musician deals with. I have other things that I'm dealing with that they don't have to deal with. But some of the things that they complain about, not getting paid for gigs or bad record contracts, I'm not dealing with some of those negative things. But all in all, it's been great. Like I love being around music. I love being around musicians. I love being around creatives. How you talk about you love creatives, period. No matter what kind of art it is, I'm the same way. I love being around any kind of musician, any kind of artist. I love people who could create something from scratch and represents them. In whatever medium it is.
You have to start from somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What was I going to ask you? Blah. What is one thing that you want to leave off? Like something that you feel inspired by and something you want to share?
One thing I feel inspired by is just two completely different people, different
Okay.
cultures, different races, different anything, just coming together and being able to like feed off each other's soul through music. And that's why I started like the mashup. I love to see or be able to witness like two people never met, two people that do completely different genres. Like you said before, like a blues singer and a rock drummer. Like just complete different. They wouldn't even they wouldn't even cross the same circles, cross the same paths, but they did, and they recognized that. Oh, look, we have more similarities than differences. You know, we can vibe on this thing. You know, and I think that music. There's only a few things that can bring people together, like music. Sports is one. I think music is another one. Those two things, for some reason, really bring people together. And I'm really inspired by the fact that music that I'm in an industry that can bring people together, and that's like kind of our mission is to bring the world together through music, and that's our slogan, that's our logo, is connecting the world through music. So I'm really inspired, and I really want to do that. You
I
know,
love that. It's a really great way to start something new and show that, yes, technology can be bad, but there's a lot of great things you can do with it.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, I know that you could download the app on the App Store.
Mhm.
So that's Bass Parlour.
Bass Parlour, Parlour. So BASSPARLOUR. It's on the App Store. It's on Google Play. Go to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Bass Parlour, BASSPARLOUR. Check out the Bass Parlour mashup. So we did season 1 already. We did season 2 already. We're about to start recording season 3.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it was really good. With the Bass Parlour app, we're doing some exciting things. We have a lot of musicians from right now. We have 40 countries represented on the app.
Woo!
Yeah,
It's a good, healthy number. 40 countries.
yeah.
Baby!
We got some African countries, South American countries, African countries,
Nice.
and European countries. So we have
A little
we have
mix.
it represented, and then we just launched a chat, so you can chat. Everybody, we already had direct messages, so everybody could already directly message each other. But right now, we just start like a chat board, so you can talk about any topic you want to talk to. You can jump in, talk about the same topic. We have a monthly contest, so you can collaborate with anybody else on the app. If they're not on the app, get them on the app, and then you collaborate with them once you get them on the app, and then put the song that you collaborated with together on the upload on the app, and you can win one of the prizes for a month. And so we have some really good prizes.
Opportunities. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know where you can find Bass Parlour now for the podcast, Lost in the Groove. We're everywhere. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So, with that, Darryl, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to go. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye. I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks a lot.